Donald Trump seems to have a new front-running TV lawyer in Will Scharf to do the rounds defending his nonsense, and I've got to say, he's not very good at his job. He's launching the same kind of weak talking points that got Alina Habba laughed out of court when she was finally promoted to real lawyer, not just TV lawyer, and Kaitlan Collins on CNN does just as good of a job holding his feet to the fire and exposing his lies, at one point even chuckling at his expense. So let's start with his tired defense of the fake elector scheme and work our way through this.
In 1876, Rutherford B. Hayes was elected president on the back of 3 alternate slates of electors. So those sorts of preparatory actions, giving political actors the ability to act on allegations of election fraud, I think there's probably intermixed private and official conduct there. And that ultimately will be a very thorny issue for the district court on remand to assess.
That's a pretty generous view of the fake slates of electors. I mean, as Amy Coney Barrett, the justice, noted today, even this is fake paperwork that was just created for slates of electors that were not alternate. They just were fake. They were fraudulent.
Well, again, in 1876, Rutherford B. Hayes was elected president.
2020 and what happened there.
There's a long history of this. In 1960,
there is not a long history of multiple slates of fake electors, people who are not the legitimate electors representing the will of the voters in Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan.
Okay, let's break this down quickly, starting with Rutherford B. Hayes and his alternate electors to kind of show the difference. Alternate electors were used in Florida, and though it was later shown that they were dishonest when counting their ballots, so maybe not the best comparison to use anyway, but the main difference is that these electors weren't picked by Rutherford as Trump's were by him. They were backed by the state's canvassing board and appointed by them. Appointed by the state. Very important to remember. What is more notable, however, is in South Carolina, Samuel Tilden, his opponent, used a strategy more comparable to what Trump is trying now, as his supporters created their own electors who submitted in favor of Tilden and declared themselves the duly appointed electors and were not appointed or recognized by any state entity. Does that sound familiar? Well, when the Electoral Commission ruled on this, while Rutherford was given Florida in a very controversial and on partisan lines 8-7 split vote, the commission whoppingly ruled 15-0 the electors not appointed by the state for Tilden in South Carolina were not the lawful electors, therefore their votes could not be counted. So the precedents that the Trump TV lawyer is trying to quote quite literally destroys the entire fake elector scheme he's attempting to use it to justify. Good job, buddy.
But I have to ask you about something else, because when one of the justices asked today if the president ordered a military coup, if that would be considered an official act, your team, John Sauer, argued, quote, it would depend on the circumstances whether it was an official act. What are the circumstances where ordering a military coup is an official act of the presidency?
Well, again, when you're talking about official acts, you don't look to intent and you don't look to purpose. You look to their underlying character. So if that sort of situation were to unfold using the official powers of the president, you could see there being an aspect of officialness to that. I would say, though, that our constitutional system provides powerful structural checks against exactly those sorts of scenarios, which have safeguarded our republic throughout American history. So the idea
but that's the argument people make. And also, we never had a moment where a sitting president tried to overturn a legitimate election until now.
Yeah, exactly. The argument he's trying to pose for this is the same as the argument that was posed as the safeguard to prevent a president from unilaterally imposing his power or thwarting the peaceful transfer of power to stay in that position. And, well, look how that turned out. We had to say, thank God for Mike Pence. Did anyone ever think they would ever have to say that in their life? But in the same breath of saying that, they want us to believe that full immunity for military assassination doesn't then create a slippery slope where a president might try to get away with that. And they very clearly specified in the hypothetical to Trump's lawyer that it was political rivals. So it's not just a global coup or any of the grossly inhumane things that America already does and takes part in and will never take any accountability for, but specifically targeting a political rival, Biden targeting Trump. They would live with that. They would live with Biden doing that because he should have immunity for that. Remember what they're arguing here. This is a very scary reality that these Republicans are trying to build. In order to save himself, we're getting to see a mask-off reality and view of the whole party in terms of where they will go for self-preservation, and it's kind of sickening. It seems that this immunity case is definitely set to fail, but it's more of a ploy to delay anyway, and the Supreme Court's been playing into that so far, so it'll be interesting to see how far they play into it and how fast this moves forward now that the absurdity of their defense has pretty well been exposed. If you enjoyed this video, we're Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. We even have memberships available as low as $3 if you'd like to support, because the only way we become a society is together.